One thing that I found to be a serious asset over the last couple of months in making YouTube videos is actually talking to a lot of other content creators. Yes, every now and again we'll be in each other's collab videos, but we do actually talk to each other quite often on Twitter or Discord servers. It's actually really cool, the people that I've met through doing this, and chances are, yes, you watch these people too. So in today's program, I had the great opportunity to chat with my friend Paige, aka FemTrooper, who's a YouTube content creator with over 12,000 subscribers, an Earthbound aficionado just like me, and a parent just like me, so there's a lot we have in common. It's really great, lighthearted fun, so I hope you enjoy this one. As always, if you're watching here on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, don't forget to rate and review the show to help boost the podcast in that algorithm. I hope you enjoy this one. Check it out. It's great to have you here. I'm a big fan of your stuff.
Okay.
But funnily enough, I only found out about you like recently after we joined the Discord, the secret Discord that we're on.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I really like your style of video. It's like I've said to you before, it reminds me a lot of Happy Console Gamer, Johnny Millennium. Like I like that, just film it and go for it style.
It's definitely that style, yes, for sure.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you, or don't know anything about you, who are you and what do you do?
Well, okay. Well, my name is Paige for starters, so go with that, and I'm fine with using that. So, and I do video game content on YouTube. It can be anything from reviews to just discussions, lists, just random topics, kind of just winging it and going for it. And I just like to talk about games. I've talked about the odd other things sometimes, but it's primarily video games. I feel like if I want to do something else, I'd almost start a new channel at that point. So I feel like I just stick to video games, but that's kind of my thing, is just talking about it. I love to kind of be in front of a camera and just kind of go for it. That's sort of my thing. And yeah, that's what it is, really. It's just a video game channel talking about stuff I like and sharing my experiences with either the past, like stuff like, memories and that kind of thing, or just games I've recently played.
Yeah. So kind of like a mix of nostalgia-based content with what's happening
sometimes,
in the now.
Because there's certain things where I talk about an old game and it's like, well, that's one of my favorite games, well, because I played it as a kid or whatever. So
well, I always like to ask everybody who's on the show, just to kind of break the ice to get into it, and for those listening as well. What's your favorite game of all time? Now I want to take a guess. Is it behind you on the shelf? And like, it is. Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, it is. It's Earthbound.
Yes. Now, why Earthbound? Why Earthbound?
I don't know, because I feel like for years I always wondered what is my favorite game, and then finally it was just like, it's that. It's so many things. It checks off every box for me, and I think that's what it is. And there's a huge nostalgia part that can't be replaced with like a new game. I've had games come really close that are new, where it's like that's in my top 5 and it's like a brand new game, but nothing will ever beat that. And I think I kind of like, when I see it and hear it, it reminds me of being a kid. It reminds me of like going to my grandma's house. So there's like memories like that where I can't really get from new stuff, but then I just like everything about it. So like it's so quirky. It's so different. And I can't remember specifically if it's the first RPG I ever played, because it is either Earthbound or Super Mario RPG. It's one of the two, and I don't remember, so whatever. But it's one of the first experiences I have with the genre, and I just fell in love with it because it was so different. Like walking around, seeing houses, seeing a pizza shop, seeing it was just so weird. And I was like, what is this? Because I was so used to platformers. Everything was side-scrolling. So this was like totally different for me. And then the music to me is like God tier. Like I just love it. It's so different and very comforting for me. Like it's so nostalgic and like cozy to me. I just love it. And like everything, I like that it's so simplistic. Like it's not really, I don't think it's that hard of a game. I know a lot of people have recently been saying like it's kind of getting dated because it's really grindy and all this, but I'm like, I personally don't think it's that grindy. Like yes it is, but not compared to like NES stuff. Where I'm like, no, like the original Mother, that's brutal. But like I feel like this is, I don't know, it's easy, it's simplistic, it's like Dragon Quest with like just modern day stuff. I just love it. It's just super weird. So for me, I just connected so much with it, and I've never found anything where I'm like, I like that more still. So sometimes I'll be like, well, something could replace it, but I'm like, no,
probably not.
no, it's done. It's sealed.
Is that your childhood copy there behind you too?
Yeah, kind of, because I never had it as a kid. I would always rent it.
Yeah.
But then when I was about 12, I bought it. So yeah, I was like a kid when I bought it. But I think I first played it when I was like 6, probably. So.
Do you remember what you would have paid for that back then?
Oh yeah, because it still has the price tag on it.
What does it say?
Sure it says 60. I think it says $65 on it.
Oh my god!
And at the time, because I think I bought it when I was like either 11 or 12. Like at the time, like that was ridiculous because it was like Super Nintendo. That should be $5.
Nobody would have thought.
But I didn't care. Yeah, I know. $65 is a joke now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Especially because I have the box. I have the guide and the cartridge. I don't have. I think the original one came with those scratch and sniff stickers.
I was gonna ask.
So I don't have that, but like pretty good for $65.
Yeah, you made out pretty good. Funnily enough, the box is the only thing that I'm missing, and that seems to be the most expensive thing. I actually saw on eBay the other day somebody was selling the Earthbound guide for $600 US, which was about $1,000 Australian. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I only just bought the cart and the guide 2 years ago now, and I paid.
Okay, so
I didn't pay like a lot. I like like I paid $500 for it. That's a lot. Yeah, okay, like that's a lot. $500 US. But I sold like 60 Switch games. Like it was a whole deal.
Okay, yeah.
I bought that Chrono Trigger and Mario RPG. Like I just had to do it because they were all available all at once. So I was just like, now's the time because they're never getting cheaper. So $65 for a completed box.
Pricey one. I know. I had saved up some money or something and went to our local store, which still exists here, and bought it from them. And I think, oh my God, I called them and they were like, yeah, we have a copy. I don't know why. I just had this weird, like, I think it was because I had N64 at that point, and I was like, I don't know, this sounds dumb, but I was like 12 and feeling nostalgic for Super Nintendo or something. I was like, I should buy Earthbound. And then I just went and bought it. I don't know. It's crazy because now I'm like, oh my God, it's so pricey now. Like I wouldn't if I didn't have it, I wouldn't go buy it now. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm lucky.
Oh, that's good. I do love that you have the whole like mother shelf behind you. So I figured I had to ask. I mean, we've talked before. We're pretty much in the same wavelength with most stuff, and we're both parents as well, and we're going to get into that in the program today, which is very exciting. But how? I'm guessing you got into games in like the Super Nintendo era, or was like the NES? I mean, you're only a couple years older than me, so like I think you were just in the SNES era.
Yeah, just Super Nintendo. That's like I don't remember specifically, but it was either the first console I ever played was either Super Nintendo or a Game Gear, and I don't remember, but because I had both. I don't know which one I got first, but Game Gear, that's kind of garbage. Yeah. I don't have any good memories with that. I think my mom bought it for me because at the time she just looked at it like, oh, it's color screen, it's better than a Game Boy. That's why would I buy my kid that? Because she was like, but now it's like, oh, but the Game Boy was better. And then I ended up getting a Game Boy Color, but I don't know. But I was a Super Nintendo kid when I was really little, and then obviously when the Nintendo 64 came out, I went to that, not PlayStation. So I had an N64, loved that. But then I got into PlayStation as kind of went back later on because I didn't have that. And when you're a kid, I didn't have like a million consoles. You had one. So that I had the Nintendo 64. But yeah, Super Nintendo, that's my intro to gaming.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It's really cool because I grew up in the N64. So I didn't hit the Super Nintendo era until I got to high school. So then I got to play all the games that just were being released as I was released into the world, I guess.
Yeah. That's fair. And I still missed a lot of Super Nintendo stuff because I just didn't rent it or whatever. So
yeah. So your YouTube channel you just hit 12,000 subscribers not long ago, which is really great.
I know. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, the 10K milestone.
It's done well this year.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the 10K milestone wasn't far off either.
That was like January, I think. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really great. Mm-hmm. Your channel isn't necessarily JRPG focused. But you do cover JRPGs quite a lot. Would you say that's like kind of the genre that you like to sit in? Do you like to be?
I think I would probably say it's my favorite genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then if you ask me, like, what are your favorite games of all time? I do have some games in there that aren't JRPGs. It's just like Mario Kart 8 would be a favorite, and like Theater Rhythm. But like, I'm not like rhythm games aren't my favorite, but I do like them. So yeah, I cover everything, or platformers I love. That might be my second favorite, maybe. And I like action adventure. I like a lot of things. There's definitely genres I don't do. Like I don't do farm sims.
Oh, no.
I just can't get into it.
No,
I can't get into it. And like I don't know. The odd time I'll play like a first person shooter, but it's not very often. So primarily JRPGs, like 100%. That's like the genre for me.
That's great. Yeah. Well, Earthbound and JRPGs, you're right at home here. That's
the best. Yeah.
Now you've been on YouTube for how many years now? Like 12 years? Is that right?
Is it 12 or 13? I started it in March 2012. Yeah. So like 12 years.
Nice. Yeah. That's a long time. I
think it was March.
It's a long time for YouTube.
And it was not consistent, honestly, until probably last year is when I was like, I'm going to actually be consistent about this and, upload at the same time every week on the same day. I'm going to actually really commit to this. It used to just be like whenever I felt like it. And sometimes that was twice a week. And then sometimes that was like once every 3 months because it was like, well, I just don't feel like it this month. And it was like, but that's not helping your channel. And I know it's hard for people because you got crazy schedules and everything. But like, it's funny because when I had more time, I didn't really commit to it, but now I feel like I don't have as much time, but I'm really committing. I don't know.
That's so true. How we're like you end up forcing yourself into. I only have like 2 hours to get this thing done. I just got to do it instead of just being careless with your time, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
What made you get into creating YouTube content? I mean, you said you like being in front of camera. Was this kind of like a hobby thing that you just decided to?
Because I've always wanted to have like my own show.
Okay, yeah.
Always like that. I was like a kid who used to pretend that I was a DJ and just like put songs on that I downloaded off like Napster or something and like just be like, all right, this is, I'm going to put this on. I don't know. I just like, I don't know, like, because I didn't end up like becoming like a reporter or something, but I don't know. I really like being in front of the camera, having my own show and talking about stuff I like. And I think why I like YouTube for that is because you can talk about something that you may not have friends in real life you can talk about it with, but then you come on YouTube and it's like, oh, there's a whole community there. So I really like that because it's like, well, I can talk about games and there's other people just like me who like the same thing and they have their channel because you can talk to people on like Twitter or forums or whatever. But if you don't see them, there's not the same connection. But when you talk to somebody who you've seen their channel, it's not as weird because you're like, I feel like I've seen them, I've heard them. So it's not as weird talking to them. You almost feel like you've just been hanging out in real life, kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We haven't spoken before on a chat or anything, but like, we've been talking on Discord for.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's just like,
it's not weird
whatever.
Because you're not just some avatar that I've just seen a weird picture of. Because there are people I talk to, I have no idea what they look like. But then most people I talk to have channels, and it's like it's not weird because you just see them so much. That's why I feel like I put myself on the camera and people can see me, people can hear me. So I'm like, I don't know, like I feel like it's not as weird. It's more of an icebreaker, I guess, because you've already seen the person. I don't know.
No, that's good. I love that sense of community. And again, like being like-minded.
I love it.
I mean, as soon as somebody says they love Earthbound, they're like #1 in my books just because that's going to be one of my favorites.
Oh, absolutely. Anyone who says that, I'm just like so stoked because it's like, someone who appreciates this.
So you started off, about 12 years ago. I'm just having a look at your very, very old ones, and it's all similar content to what you're doing now. It really is.
It's just I feel like it's just me when I'm way younger. Like really, it's weird because you're like, oh, like I guess I would have been, when I started the channel, I think I was 23 and I'm 35 now. So you're like, okay, like it's weird looking at it because I'm like, oh my God. And like some of it, like it's progressed a lot. Like the first videos I have on there are me in my bedroom at my parents' house. And then it got better because my husband, who was my boyfriend then, we started filming stuff on like an SLR in his room at his parents' house.
I can see the difference in the YouTube thumbnails as I'm scrolling. It
started to get, because then he started making them. He started making my thumbnails and he edited my videos. And then he was like, I'm getting sick of this. You learn how to edit your videos. And I was like, that's fair. That's fair. So then he, I figured out how to do it. So now I do everything now. I do my own thumbnails. I edit everything.
That's really cool. Like just to scroll through and just see what you're doing. And like, it's about 9 years ago or so, like everything really clicks. Yep. You've got your thumbnail templates. You've got all this stuff. I mean, you're doing some like Spider-Man cosplays. That's that's cool.
I got that.
I really enjoy seeing other people's YouTube growth because everybody's got a YouTube journey. Like I started this YouTube channel that this will be on when I was 19.
Okay.
I wasn't even
Wow.
like fully aware as a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not. I'm 31.
I no, I know. I know what you mean.
Oh, it's
It's
so funny.
crazy. Yeah, it's neat. I like looking at it because it's like because sometimes someone might be like, oh, like take the old stuff down. It's getting embarrassing, and I'm like,
Oh,
it's not embarrassing because I like that's what I was doing when I was 23 or 26 or whatever. So I kind of like watching the growth of it of like, oh, like you've changed or maybe this is better or whatever. So I'm like, I don't know. That's how it was when I started. So I'm like, I just leave it.
yeah. I do the same. I mean, actually, I would say I do the same, but 90% of what's on my channel is actually hidden, so never to be seen
Well,
again.
that's fair. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It just doesn't line up with what I'm doing because focus changes.
Oh yeah.
But for your focus, how do you figure out what to do per week? Do you have a list of video ideas you want to do, or you're just sitting there washing the dishes one day and it's like, oh, it comes to me because I'll be like making dinner and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that video this week.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing for you?
Yeah, that happens. I do have a huge list on my phone though of everything because because it used to be I just thought of something and did it. And there was no consistency. It was like, oh, I'm gonna do top 10, whatever. And then I would just do it. And then the next time I thought of an idea, I'd do it then. Now I'm like, well, I upload every Tuesday and I have to have ideas. So not that it's stressful per se, but like I want to make sure I have stuff going on where it's like, if I don't have something specific, I have at least a list to go off of. So yeah, I do have a huge list of all these ideas. And then there's also stuff that you can always rely on. Like if I don't have a great idea, it's like you can always throw a pickups video in there.
Yeah.
Or stuff that I know will happen. Like I do those well now I'm doing them. But I used to do reviews, so I always could rely on that. Well, whenever I beat a game, I'll have a video. So now I'm doing the like what I've been playing kind of thing because it's like I just find it better in terms of like just doing reviews because half the time I'm not playing something that's current. It's like, oh, that came out 2 years ago and nobody cares. But somehow when I do it in that format of like an update, people care. It's weird. I don't know. I tried it out and it works because if I say blank review, it's like, nobody cares. But if I say, here's what I've been up to, then people are like, oh, what have you been up to? It's like, who knows? So I've tried that and it's working. So I feel like I'm going to stick with that. So for me, it's kind of like every 3 games I beat, I'll do like an update. So I can always rely on that. And then I love lists. So I'm always thinking of ideas of like lists I can do. And then if there's like a weird topic that's like, I don't know if it's controversial or something like digital versus physical or something, I'll do that. And sometimes I scroll back to old videos like, oh, I did that 10 years ago. Maybe I should update it. Or I update like an old, like where it's like I did a top 10 this, but now it's totally changed. So let's do an update because that's so old and outdated. So I'll try and do that. But yeah, I try and just anything I think of, I will write it down on my phone right away where it's like, okay, we're going to do that soon. And I try and think of it. And then once I feel like, yeah, I've got, or I might have a list idea, but I only have like 3 games. And I'm like, well, once I get like 8, I'll do a list or something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that. It's kind of random, but I have a list.
Well, you got a formula that works for you, and it's great to see you sticking to it. I actually was inspired by you to do Tuesday uploads.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason, I don't know. But now all of a sudden we're doing the same. Like I'll post mine and our little Discord group. 3 hours later, boom, there's yours. So I'm like, it's like we're kind of Tuesday pals.
Yeah, I love
that way.
Tuesdays now.
I suppose because you've been doing this for quite a long time, and you've really been going hard at it the last year and a bit.
Yes, I've really been going for it.
What are some of the challenges you find? Is it time? Is it motivation? Is it ideas? I mean, what's the hardest thing you found?
Yeah, I a lot of it sometimes is just because I hate editing. If I'm honest, I hate it. So it's like, I film it, and then I mean that is in itself. I like to batch film sometimes. So I'll be like, I'm going to do 3 videos and then my next 3 weeks are done. So then I feel good because I don't have to like every week be like, I gotta film. Because that takes time to do it. And I just typically like doing it. I like doing it in the day. I like playing games at night. Because that's the thing is like when I do all this, and as you know, it's taking time away from other things. So it's like if I want to film a video or edit a video, I'm not watching a show or playing a game or whatever it is I want to do. So it's like, it's kind of, and I'm just not, editing is not really my thing. Some people get really into it and they like that, but I'm like, ugh. So I'm not into it. It's just tedious. So I try to get it done, and I always feel like great when something is edited. I'm like, it's done. But sometimes like I don't feel like it, or I'm like, I don't really feel like filming a video, but I'm like, no, I have to. And I still want to do it. Deep down, I want to do it. I want to post it. But there are weeks where you're like, I don't want to go and film a video right now. I want to do something else.
Yep.
But I still like it because the payoff is good for me. Like I really like the engagement and I'd say generally it's positive. Like I don't have I have the odd weird comment, but I have to say I don't get that many weird or nasty comments. So that's nice. So I feel like I look forward to it because people are literally engaging and enjoying it. And I'm like, well, that's cool. So, and I try and respond to everything unless it's weird.
Well, that was my next question. If you've had any like criticism,
I've definitely
or
had
negative
some,
feedback, like how do you handle that?
Yeah, I've definitely had some I've had some really nasty, inappropriate comments sometimes, but I actually haven't had a really gross one for like years. But I've definitely had some weird ones where you're like, wow, that's definitely got to be removed. And then I've had ones where they're just like, sometimes it's just so weird. Where like, I can't even tell if that's mean or just like, I can't tell if maybe it's like English as a second language because I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. Or I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to this. Like, it's just weird. So I don't, Or sometimes they're just very strange comments where it's like, I'm not even responding. It gets so almost spammy kind of, where you're like, I don't even know what that is. So I don't respond. But most people, like I'd say 90% are saying cool things and like responding because I try and engage. Like I try and be like, whatever it is, I'm like, what's your whatever, so that people comment and engage. And people do. Because I ask them and then I'm like, yeah, like what have you been playing lately? And then people will say, and then I'll comment back if it's, I usually like sometimes if I don't have anything great to say, I at least engage with their comment, like, awesome, glad thank you for watching. Or if it's something like, if someone's like, I'm playing Earthbound, well, then I'm going to respond with more of an in-depth response. Sure. But yeah, I mean, typically the comment situation is good. So I'm happy about that because I know some people get so many weird things and I'm like, I don't know, mine's been okay.
Yeah, like I mean, I've had a few. I mean, like I've posted them in the group and you've seen them. But thankfully, it's never been anything too bad or too scandalous, I suppose. No, and then it's just a matter of like being able to read a comment that might be nasty and realize, okay, it's not actually about you, it's them. It has to do with all the commenters, nothing to do with you. So
no, that's the thing is like I could care less. So if someone actually writes something mean, like I go, well, who's that? I don't even know them. Like it's just some weird troll. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm not inviting nasty comments. I'm just saying like I'm not offended. So if people are trying to offend me, it's kind of like wrong person, because I know some people really take them to heart and they're like legitimately upset, and I'm like, I don't know, you have to try and look at the source, where it's like if someone I respect says something mean to me, then it's a different story. So I'm like, wow, that's a friend, but like they're not going to do that. So these are people I don't even know. They're just people hiding behind some weird username with like 8 numbers. I'm like, I don't care. So it's like, thank you actually for the engagement and boosting my video in the algorithm. Like, please. That's kind of how I see it. I'm like, please say something weird because and click whatever, because you watching is helping.
I've had people like totally disagree with something and they back out of the video. And I know that because they said not even 30 seconds in and I disagree with what they're saying. It's like, okay, well, you watched and commented. So like you defeated the purpose.
Yeah. Or people who will comment like they don't even watch. You go, well, you didn't watch the video then because you're completely missing the point. Or I always find it strange because like I'm just not like this. So you'll do like a top 10 list or something and of whatever. And then if I don't include something like their favorite game, they're like super offended. I'm like, why do you care what FemTrooper says? Like I just feel like I could care less. Like what if somebody does a top 10 and they don't include my favorite game, like, well, yeah, no kidding, it's their favorite. Like I'm just not offended. It's a weird thing to me because it's like they take it so personal that like some random person on the internet's video is like offending them because I didn't include Breath of the Wild on my list. Like I'm like, okay, really? Like I'm a little bit shocked, but that's what I'm saying. I just don't care.
Yeah, that's funny. I have to say your overall like channel vibe reminds me of like old school YouTube. When like everybody was doing like nostalgia stuff. I mean, people still do, don't get me wrong, but like I feel like the early 2010s I think was really when like the nostalgia content was going, and that's when I started and I tried to like get into that. But you're just old school in the sense where like old school.
No, I know what you mean.
But like, video responses and the way that you engage with people in your list, like everything just, it's like a good feel cozy thing. It's like reminds me of
good. Yeah, I like that.
when things were easier in life.
Yeah, it's just simple. Like it's simple. It's like, here's top 10 things whatever. And, or like, I just want to talk about why I love the Vita or something. I don't know. Like, it's just really random. And that's why I just look at my list and I'm like, oh, okay, like you might see me talk about the 3DS, and then the next week I'm talking about a brand new game. So it's like, I don't know. I just kind of go jump back and forth. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too that we mentioned at the top of the program here is that you're a parent, you're a mother. Yep. How do you incorporate games into being a parent? I mean, every parent is going to have their own answer, but like, how do you incorporate your little one into your hobbies? Like,
not yet.
Yep.
Not yet. So he turns 5 in a couple weeks.
Yep.
So yeah, he's basically 5. And I haven't introduced video games yet. And I think I was about 5 when I got my Super Nintendo. So it's weird because I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I know the age group, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like when we introduced TV, we knew we're like, once I put this on, I can't go step back.
Yeah.
Like once we show him TV, you can't just be like, oh, just kidding, never again. Like it's done. You have to now, TV's part of his life now. Yeah. And it's like, that's fine. So we're waiting on when I want to, and there's no right answer. Like I know some people are like playing video games with their babies, and I'm like they're just there. And I never did that. He knows I play video games, but I don't think he really knows what they are because he hasn't really seen them that often. He sees, like, he knows my Switch is sitting there. Like he'll pick it up, but he's never like turned it on and like sat and played on it. So I don't know when we're going to introduce it, just because I know, because my whole thing was, I can't wait to buy him his own console, just like I had. And so I'm like, well, that's cool. But like, I don't know when. And it was such a different time. Like I think about growing up in the 90s. I literally, and again, this is my experience, but I had the TV on all day. The TV was on all day till like bedtime. And like, I watched like 10 hours of TV a day. I would play and do other things, but it was just on all the time. Like the kids station was on. We watched the news at dinner. Like it was just TV time at all times. And now I'm like, we don't do that. And it's like so different. I don't know. So it's weird. I haven't introduced it to him, but I'm like excited to, though. Sure. Like I'm so excited when he's like, I can play like racing games with him, or like play a platformer like Kirby or Donkey Kong, or I don't know. So we're excited. I just don't know when that is. A part of me is like, maybe at Christmas we'll like, 'cause he'll be like 5.5. We'll like introduce something to him. 'Cause I'm always like, I should get him his own Switch, or like a Switch Lite or something. I don't know. We don't know. It's like one of those weird things where it hasn't happened. And so it's once we do it, then it will change things.
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know.
It's tough. You never know when the right answer is. Like we just fell into it. Like my son.
Yeah.
He beat Mario Odyssey this week in like 2 or 3 days. Like it's
amazing.
That's like, where are you getting this from? Like, how are you able to get like 121 moons in 3 days? It's like, my God, you're 4. Like, stop.
Yeah, what? I know. And like, because I know him too. And I'm like, I feel like if I showed him something he can't do it, he'll get frustrated. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want this to be a negative thing, but I'm like, have to introduce that at some point, because I do. It's so fun. Like he loves shows and movies and stuff. So I'm like, he's gonna love this, but I don't know. It hasn't been introduced yet.
That's fair enough. You want it to be under your own conditions. You want them to. Any parent wants a child to be able to get something and interact with it in a way that's benefiting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so, because I think my parents just bought it for me and they didn't even really know what they were doing. It was just like, here's the Super Nintendo. We don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Because they didn't grow up with any of this. They had no idea. And I'm like, why did you even buy that for me? Do you even know what it was? Like, it's weird. I just feel, but it was such a normal thing back then. And now I don't even know. Yeah. And like, he's not an iPad kid either. I've been kind of old school where it's like, if you watch TV, you watch it like how I did, like on a TV. He sits on the couch, he watches a show. I feel like, you can have a snack and stuff, but like I just haven't, doesn't sit on iPads and do all that stuff. So he's seen that. I'll show him things on my phone, but he's not on my phone.
Yeah. It's, once you introduce it, you can't. And I always said, my gosh, and I'm sure you probably did before you became a parent too, because like, there ain't no way in hell I'm giving my kid an iPad. There's no way. Fast forward 4 years later, give him the iPad because I can't make dinner without him crying.
Oh, well, that's the thing is like he has TV time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like he has TV time kind of like that hour before dinner where it's like you chill, we make dinner, and that allows us to make dinner. And it's like, you know, he can just sit there and watch whatever or watch a movie. But it's like, I know there's that temptation if he's being bad, you're like, well, then there's no TV today. You're like, no, I need you to have the TV today.
Yes.
I can't find a different punishment. I need that.
I feel that. Well, I hope when you do introduce him to games, like you really
it'll be soon.
It'll be fun. It'll be great.
Oh, that's the thing is I want it to be like a special thing where it's like we can play games together, and I think that would be really fun. But at the same time, it's like I didn't play video games with my parents that often either, so it's like if he has his own thing going on, like that's cool because like he's an only child and I was an only child, so there's that. So I don't know, like I always had my own stuff. I didn't have to share consoles or anything.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is all the consoles are mine. And
you'll have to share them.
Weird flip because it's like I wasn't like all that stuff was mine, and now I'm like I'm the parent. The like mommy has all the consoles. It's weird. It's so different now. I feel like we're like a different generation of parents or something.
Well, it's
I don't know.
It's part of what we grew up with, really. I mean, like this is like, you know, our parents' generation. You know, maybe like I know my mother dabbled in the NES and like played Mario 3. You know, but it wasn't a thing.
Definitely not what my mom was doing. So that's so cool.
Yes, she is. But I suppose it's like
I sometimes play 2-player racing games with my dad and stuff sometimes. But it was like my thing. It was like not like a toy, but kind of because it was like my thing. I just did it, and like I had a TV in my room, and
Same.
I had a VCR in there, and I had like the Super Nintendo was always hooked up, and it's like it's just weird because like he doesn't have a TV in his room. Like I don't know. It's just different. It's a different time. I don't know.
But it's funny because as a parent now, it's like there's no way I give him his own iPad in his room because I know what's out there now. You know.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, because he's not on the internet or anything. He doesn't even know what the internet is. He just knows I can look up things on my phone.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, it's weird. It's super weird.
It's an interesting time we live in. One thing that I wanted to focus on, and we've talked about it before, some, I suppose, games that are kid friendly. I mean, because this particular podcast is like RPG, JRPG. What games do you think would be kind of kid friendly? I mean, I suppose that the child would have to have a specific reading level. Like, I mean, I would love to give Earthbound to my son, but he wouldn't be able to read anything.
Because that's the cool thing is I feel like when you have a really little kid, they don't have a reference.
Yeah.
So it's like you could show them old things, but they don't know. They're not going to be like, that's old. Because if they've never seen new stuff,
they don't know.
They're not going to have a reference. So they're not, I mean, he knows obviously like when he watches shows, like he's seen everything he's seen old animated things, but then he's seen like Paw Patrol where it's like brand new. And you're like, okay. But like video games, I don't think he has any ideas. So that's kind of exciting because I could show him Earthbound and he's not going to say, well, that's old looking because he wouldn't even have a reference. But yeah, you need to be able to read. That's the big thing with JRPGs is they're so dialogue heavy. So especially old ones where there's no voice acting. So I feel like, well, that's why platformers to me are like kind of a go-to.
Definitely.
As like kid friendly. Like, because that's what I played. And I think that's like, I mean, I must have like, I would have been like really little when I'm playing like Earthbound and I could read. But like if your kid can't read yet, it's like, well, then just play a platformer. Yeah. It's like, you don't really need to know anything. That's super fun. Actually, that Princess Peach Showtime, perfect for kids. That was like, as much as it's not like my favorite game ever, I enjoyed it. And I thought, all I could think when I was playing it was like, this would be really good for kids. Like it's long enough. It's not too hard. And it seems kind of fun. I feel like it's different.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you can read Super Mario RPG, that's like the gateway RPG right there. That's like so kid friendly to me.
It really is. I mean, the especially the remake version, well, because it's really pretty much the only accessible.
Exactly. Well, exactly. No, I just loved it. And that's all I could think of when I was playing it recently. I'm like, this is so perfect for kids. I mean, I played it when I was really little. I didn't beat it or anything, but like I was enjoying it and liking it. So I feel like I think if you're got a kid who wants to get into the genre, like that's definitely a good one to start with.
Yeah.
I love it.
Are you a fan of the Dragon Quest series at all? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Huge.
Let's just say you've got a little one that is maybe interested in playing games like that? Is there a specific Dragon Quest that might be kind of child friendly, or maybe not? Or because to be honest with you, like my only reference for Dragon Quest is 11, and
Yeah, okay.
not that there's
Which is
some
great.
heavy themes in there, but there's some stuff that's like, maybe not.
Oh, I know what you mean. Like, okay, Dragon Quest to me is not for like a 4 or 5-year-old.
No,
Because
but
they're gonna just play it and get confused. And if they can't read, I mean, that's like me. Even to be fair, like I was playing Earthbound when it came out, and I was like 6, but
Yeah.
I didn't really know what was going on.
yeah,
I had no idea what was happening or like what to do, and I sucked. So I'm like, well, that's the problem. Is like I feel like you got to be a little older to get into JRPGs. As much as I would like rent them and walk around, it's like I had no idea what was going on. So there's that. Dragon Quest is, to me, is great, and so many people played it as a kid. Everyone has their, their starter. Like some people it was the original or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, there's definitely, I know what you mean with 11 with heavy themes, because like in like 5, for instance, super cool, but like it has like child like slavery in it.
I know. Yeah.
So it's not like the like super inappropriate, but it's maybe not for like a 4 or 5-year-old.
Sure.
And they're not going to know what's going on, and it's hard. I feel like it's too hard. But they're all kind of the same in that sense. That's the best thing about the series. If you play one, you've played them all. Like it's not like, the new one is so much different, like Final Fantasy, where there's so much variation there, where it's like not really with Dragon Quest. It's like the only thing that's changed is like the graphics, but it's the same battle system, the same everything. So,
True.
And they're pretty generic stories. You're not getting anything ridiculous and groundbreaking with Dragon Quest, which I like. It's simple, like it's very easy. So I feel like in terms of like, like Xenoblade Chronicles has some crazy stuff going on there with a battle system. I'm like, but not Dragon Quest.
Yeah. I suppose because, and that it's very similar to Earthbound in the way that the battle system is presented. Like you don't see your characters on screen, you just see the enemies.
Exactly.
And I like text-based. That. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's
different.
Look, I prefer the turn-based Final Fantasy stuff. I like to see my guys on the screen all in a row. Like that's just.
Oh, I like that too.
That's what I grew up with. But like, it's so funny because Dragon Quest, having again never played it aside from 11, I don't. Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't have that nostalgic attachment.
I haven't played one that I don't like. Like they're all good. 11 to me is like to me like the best place to start. It's where I actually started, and I feel like that made me like it. But it's also like really long, so you have to factor that in.
It's like 80 hours because you.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, that's kind of like that's gonna take a kid like 10 years. Like, I don't know. Like it's like there's certain games where you're like, that's ridiculous. That's why some of the older ones, like Dragon Quest, like if you played the original one but you played the newer version, I know some people think they're nasty and ugly and like it's so gross because they're like mobile ports, but the Dragon Quest games on Switch, like 1, 2, and 3, I loved it because they were very accessible. They had like quality of life features. It allowed me to beat them all.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I feel like Dragon Quest 1 is like, I don't know, like 6 or 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
It's not long.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe the original took longer because it was way more grindy.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing Dragon Warrior on the NES, it's probably longer. Yeah. But the Switch one, like, it's really not that long. Because I remember it took me like a week or something because I was just random. I was like, oh my God, like I just beat that quickly. And then I went right into 2 and then right into 3. And it's so simple that I feel like that's maybe a good place to start too, because it's so simple and there's nothing weird in it.
Yeah.
It's literally just like guy saves princess. Like, there's no in-depth thing. Like, with 11, you have all these interesting characters and there's a dynamic there. There's nothing like that in the original. It's real, like, so the most simple thing. There's a bad guy. There's a good guy with a sword. That's it.
Well, I could remember like, I feel like my imagination leaned a lot into games as well. Like I can imagine if I was a kid now, maybe like between the 6 or 8, if I were to play Final Fantasy on the NES, like with a map and stuff, I feel like you could kind of create your own storyline because it's bare bones. Comparatively.
Exactly. Oh, Final Fantasy 1, like is so much more in depth and interesting than Dragon Quest 1. It's like night and day. I couldn't believe it. I was expecting kind of a Dragon Quest experience out of it, and then I was like, whoa, there's like way more interesting things going on here. I was actually quite blown away and shocked because Dragon Quest is really simple. Like really, there's not much going on there, which is fine. It's like kind of one of the original, not the original JRPG in a way, but like, yeah, I was really impressed with what Final Fantasy 1 did. I'm like, wow, that's pretty legit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's so many games out there that like even I need to play, and I'm looking forward to when my son's reading level, because now we'll be playing Mario Odyssey, and he'll go up to a guy and he'll be like, "Dad, can you read what he says?" And then I have to like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
But man, I look forward to the day that like we can play Chrono Trigger together, like on the actual CRT. Like that's just, I'm waiting for that day to happen.
Oh, me too. I know. I'd love to like play a JRPG with him too. I think that would be so cool. Like to just sit down and be like, okay, we're gonna see what happens and where do we end up? And like it's cool. It's like it's kind of like not choose your own adventure, but it just you know something neat is going to happen. That's why I love the genre so much. Like something, you're going to go to a town, something cool is going to happen. I just love it. It's so different from everything else.
Is there a game that you think you would really look forward to sharing with your son?
Well, I definitely want to share Earthbound with him at some point, because I just love the vibe of it. It's so cool. But I mean, honestly, any of them. Like I'd love to play, like, I mean, because some of the stuff is like inappropriate. We're like, I'm not gonna play like Infinite Wealth, like a dragon. Like that's not happening. I'm not playing games like that with him. But like, you know, like a cool, like Dragon Quest 11 is really cool. So that's high up on my list of like favorites. So I feel like I would love to play something like that. Even Chrono Trigger is a good example. Yeah, because that's so solid. Like it's such a good game that I feel like I would go through that. Like
it's shorter too. Like you can beat it under 12 to 15 hours. Like if you're kind of rushing it.
Some of those older games, they're not 100 hours. Thank God.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could do
nice. That. Yeah, I guess more of the like, you know, E for everyone kind of games where they're just more, you know, simple, because I like that, and I like some of the other stuff that's darker too. So this depends.
Yeah. Well, there's the good thing is like, you know, you have this infinite pool. No, well, not nearly infinite, but you know, infinite pool of games and resources that you can share, and you almost kind of experience it again for the first time, like through somebody else's eyes. And I think that's
that's the thing.
Wonderful.
I just want to see his reaction, because it's always cool to me putting on a movie that I like and then seeing him like it too.
Yeah.
Like I love The Nightmare Before Christmas, and we introduced that to him last year around Halloween, and he like loves it. He loves it, and he like all of it, and it didn't freak him out or anything. And I was like, well, I think I watched it when I was 4, so I'm like, I think it's appropriate. So we put it on, and then he took to it so much, and he loved it. And he asked, I think he watched it once this week already. Like he watches it all the time still, and I'm like, I kind of like makes me so excited, because I'm like, oh, I love seeing him like something that I love so much. That's kind of cool. So that's always the neat thing, is when you introduce something, whether it's a book or a movie, and then seeing them like it the same way you did. It's cool. So I'm like, yeah, I'm excited with games to do. I'm excited, honestly, like not just JRPGs, but to just play like
everything.
Super Mario World.
Yeah.
Like some, like all the old Donkey Kong, like games that I like, Donkey Kong Country, all of them. I feel like that is so exciting to me, to like introduce them to that, because those are all games that I grew up with, and like they still hold up.
They do. Yeah. Is there, well, not even just games or whatever, just speaking from entertainment in general, is there anything that you weren't particularly a fan of that you've maybe watched it or read it to your son, and it's like, I didn't like that, but now I like it because we've done it together?
Ooh, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I'm trying to think of like even like a show, like if there's something I liked as a kid, but then I watched it again, like, oh, this actually kind of isn't that great anymore. But no, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something, but nothing stands out. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
No, it's funny because so
far it's been pretty good.
Well, that's good. Did you either read or see the movie Ready Player One?
No, I know that's bad, but I totally missed the boat on that. So I need to catch up.
I loved the book, and I was waiting for the movie for ages, and we saw it, and I was like, I didn't like that. And then
yeah, that's always annoying.
And then we watched it on Friday night, and my son loved it. He was like losing his mind at all the parts, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can appreciate this from a different angle now, because to kind of go back to the games thing, it's like we're seeing it for the first time. Like, I know what's going to happen, but like seeing the reaction of the little one is like,
Oh, there's so many movies that I'm like dying to show him, but I'm like, I'm gonna, I'm like, we want to show, like, I'm so excited because he loves dinosaurs to like show him Jurassic Park.
We just watched
And I'm
all
just like,
six of those last weekend. It was awesome.
yeah, like it's so good, and I'm like, I'm not sure. We're like, do we show him like six? I'm trying to remember how old I would have been when I watched it, and then because we watched so many things we weren't supposed to back then.
Oh my
I don't know
gosh, yeah.
what was going on. Everyone has this experience where it's like, oh, they watched some weird like 80s slasher movie and they're like 5. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just, but then I would never show something like that to my son. So I'm like, I don't know what was going on. People just didn't care.
I
don't know.
People weren't.
It was just whatever.
Yeah, and like I think now, as parents, and being aware of everything, I think we're more in tune with what's actually out there. Like it was so easy for a younger kid to just flick to channel like a whatever 100 and see like anything on HBO, whatever that could have been. You know what I mean? Like it was just a different world.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely watched all sorts of things, and like good and bad, but like it's just funny because I'm like, I'll think of something, I'm like, oh, I think I was like 6 or 7 when I watched that, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't think I would show that to my son, but then I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not damaged, so it's like, I mean, somehow we're all okay.
You're fine.
Watch some of these weird things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw a good meme recently. Did you play Majora's Mask? Are you a Zelda fan?
Yeah, I was like hardcore into Ocarina of Time, and then Majora's Mask came out, and I had it, like I rented it, but I was never like, I didn't get into it as much.
Yeah.
So I don't have as many memories, but I definitely did play it, but not Ocarina of Time. I was obsessed with that.
The reason why I bring that up is because it said Majora's Mask is the reason why all millennials have anxiety, and it's the timer. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Totally. Yeah. I don't know why. It's like weird. It's like it came out at a time when maybe I just wasn't as into Zelda. But Ocarina of Time, oh my God, that was definitely like a good year and a half of like only playing that. And like it's weird because like I think how like the way I play games now, it's very like I'm very focused on like kind of like reading a book, like getting, beating it, getting through the story. And then I think, oh my God, I was playing like one game for like years. Like, what was I doing? I was just walking around. Like, I don't know what you're doing as a kid.
I would never play games like that now. Like, I just go straight through for story. Like, I would never just wander around.
I don't just like wander around. Yeah. I think it's because you have infinite time, and who cares? You just put it on and play it and then go do something else. And I just feel like now, like I do not do that, which is why there's a lot of games that are like, to me, that don't have an end. I can't, like, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
So like farm sim stuff where it's like, you like Animal Crossing, people play it infinitely. And I'm like, I can't do that. And I can't play, my husband, he'll play like certain sim games. Like he likes like Mud Runner and those Snow Runner. And it's like, you're just like driving like a logging truck, but there's no purpose. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I need to be like progressing. If I'm just wandering around, like no. I know so many people like that. They like to just, like just wander around Grand Theft Auto and not do anything. And I'm like, no, I can't do that.
So let me ask you, you mentioned Infinite Wealth, and I know that's a game that you've just recently finished. I finished it like 4 days ago. It was awesome.
Yeah, so you're fresh on it.
I'm fresh off of it. But I want to ask, for these type of games, whether it's JRPGs or anything else, do you just strictly do story stuff? Do you do any side stuff? Like I know Infinite Wealth, there's like the whole job system. You can do, you could be the delivery.
That game, driver. I feel like you could spend 200 hours in that.
I didn't do any of that. I'm just like, I wanted to do story stuff strictly, and that took me 36 hours.
Pretty much 99.9% of the time, exclusively story.
Yeah.
I am like, if there's a side quest, you'll never see me do it.
Yep.
Ever. I've never been interested in it. To me, it's never been, I don't know, even like, I feel like even years ago, like I've never been into doing additional content, really. Like it's never my thing. I always just want to play through the story 100%. So I'm never interested in that. So like all those extra, like all the extra stuff in like Rebirth, I didn't really care. I'm not going to do it. And I didn't do any of it in Infinite Wealth. And I know it's like, it's really well done. That's the thing is I'm like, I respect this. I see people who are like the Sujimon thing.
I couldn't care less. I couldn't get through that fast enough.
I didn't do it.
Honestly.
No, I didn't do it. But I just feel like it's cool that it's there because I know so many people who do get into it. And I'm like, that's neat. And it's not forced on you. So I was like, that's cool. Like, I don't have to do it, but it's like, man, like, yeah, no, I'm just exclusively story all the time. I know I'm not a side quest person. And if I'm honest, I find a lot of JRPGs, the side quests are so boring where it's like, I need you to go do this. And it's like, but that sounds boring. Like, I don't want to do it. It's always some person, like some NPC who's like, oh, there's a monster. Can you kill 3 of them? And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to do that. Honestly, I don't. Or they'll have you collect something, like go find this item somewhere. I'm like, I would prefer not. Like, it's so boring. So I don't ever do that. Yeah.
There was one in Rebirth that was like escort a dog from one end of Junon to another. And I'm like,
I do remember seeing that. And I think I was just like, the dog went off and I was like, yeah, not doing that.
Rebirth is the rare exception because I couldn't get enough of that game. I played pretty much almost all of it. There was a certain point where I was just like, I can't anymore because I've just dipped out. And same thing for like all these bigger games like Infinite Wealth. Like there is an infinite wealth of things to do, but it's just like,
yeah,
it's just, I look at it and my brain melts. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I cannot do this. Well,
I don't really like them, but I also don't have time.
Yeah,
like, it's like, well, sure, I have the time, but then I wouldn't beat as many games as I do.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, if I spend 50 hours on something, it's like, I want that to be because I'm going to beat it. But it's like, oh, if you spend all this time doing side quests, now I'm going to be spending 100 hours on the game. And it's like, I'm not interested in it. I want to, because it sounds dumb, but I'm like, I try and get through as many games as possible. I don't know how to really describe it. It's because I like the sense of completion, but I also like getting through games because I feel like I become a part of the community when I like beat that game. Where it's like someone who's like, oh, I've never beat Final Fantasy VII. I feel like you can't share that stuff with them. It's like, beat it and then we can talk about it. But it's like, once I beat it, I feel like, oh, now I get it. I get it. Like, I know what that is. Actually, I feel like I felt that when I went, this is years ago, when I went to Video Games Live and they would play a bunch of things and there'd be the odd thing where like, I don't really know what that is, or I've never played it. And then everyone else in the audience is like super hyped, but then you're kind of feeling like, oh, I'm not a part of it because I don't really know what that is. So when you play a game, so that's why the more games I play, I feel like the more like well-rounded as like a gamer. It's like watching tons of movies or reading more books. You just feel like you're part of it more. So I try and beat as many as possible because like the backlog is never ending and I want to try and actually play my games because I hate seeing things that are still wrapped or like, I don't know. So I try and get through as many as possible, but that's why, side quests, I'm like, no way.
Just eats into the time and
no time, especially when you have a kid. I'm like, I barely have time anyway. And I'm like, no, I'm not just doing silly stuff.
Well, I mean, you probably only have like a good hour and a half, 2 hours maybe to yourself in the evenings before you start getting tired.
I know. Exactly. It's hard.
I force myself to stay up about midnight or maybe 12:30 at the latest.
I know, same.
And I have to end on a good point. Like last night I was playing Yakuza 0. And I have to end not right at the start of the chapter because I'll be thinking about it and I can't sleep. I have to start the chapter for a couple of minutes, get to the save point, and then it's like, okay, once I start playing, I know what I can do. You know what I mean? I start thinking.
I played that. That was the first one I ever played, and I played it when I was pregnant.
Oh my goodness!
It was like, I think I beat it like a month before my son was born because I was basically like not bedridden, but like I was just not walking very good, and I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and play this all month.
Well,
and I did. I didn't go to work. I just sat there and played video games.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I remember it's funny because at the time I was like, I hate this. I just want to go for a walk. I can't stand it. And now I'm like, oh my God, you got to just sit and play video games all day?
I like it.
Wow. You don't know. I don't know.
I know. Well, look, I know you're a parent and you're very much looking forward to your downtime. So I don't want to take that away from you any more than I have today. But I do have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Because you're on YouTube and you're doing all your channel stuff and you're doing consistent uploads, like what's next for you? Are you really just week to week just trying to get through your backlog and continuing to talk about it? You don't have any plans to do anything differently, or you're just happy to keep chugging along?
Yeah, kind of. I really just go week to week, and sometimes, like I said, I'll batch film, and then I know what my next couple weeks look like. And then I kind of go from there. I definitely get excited when I beat a game because I know like I'll be able to do like an update video and tell people about my experience playing that. Because that's my whole thing is like, if I do a review, you're not getting detailed information from me. Do not come to me and ask me to explain a battle system. no way. Because half the time I might not even know what I'm
know.
doing. So I'm like, dude, I like if I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles on easy, it's like, don't ask me to explain how that works because I can't. So I'm not gonna even go there. For me, it's more about feeling and like the experience and like how I felt. Whereas like I really enjoyed the story and I really enjoyed like, you know, it was funny. Like I'm sorry, but like Infinite Wealth and Rebirth, they're both funny.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
both like I like the character dynamic in both of those series, like phenomenal. So it's like that's what I want to share. Like those are things I want to tell people, or like, you know, if you play this, you're gonna cry or whatever. Like I want to tell people stuff like that. But versus you know, I don't come and have me explain like your HP going like I'm just like, dude, no.
There's other people for that.
Yeah, my reviews aren't gonna be like IGN or something, but like because some people do in-depth stuff and they're like telling you intricate stuff like get this weapon. I'm like, no,
I can't do
I'm
that.
not that person. And whatever, like I don't that's not how I play games. But yeah, no, it's week to week and I get excited to upload, but I definitely go through my list and I'm like, okay, what would be a good one? And then I'll see how certain things do, where it's like, oh, you know, that I'll post a video and I'm like, that's gonna do super well, and then it like doesn't, and you're like, okay, I thought it would, but whatever. And then there's some where like it's like guaranteed to probably do really well. But then maybe I don't know. So I try and play with it every week because I never really know. It's a weird one. I mean, you know, you post stuff and you're like, okay, you get thousands of views, and then like the other one, it's like it takes just chugging, like it takes so long to just hit that 1,000. I'm like,
I know.
What? I thought people would like that.
Well, like I put up my video on Friday and that hasn't even hit 200 views yet. I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the encouraging thing, to keep going and just keep trying, see what works, see what doesn't. It's all an experiment.
I mean, there's certain things like I've noticed, like, okay, my videos are I have more subs now, and my videos are doing better this year than like the past. There's definitely things like I know help, like having a good thumbnail and having good titles and stuff. But even then, it's like sometimes you can do something that you think is so generic, so easy. It's like, this is gonna, but then people just don't care that week. I don't know. So, but it doesn't really bother me. It's not my job.
Yeah.
So I don't really care. Like, this is just a fun thing I do on the side. I do not have to do this. I know some people have made this their career and like, that's so cool. I'd love to do that, but it isn't. So that's why I never get really offended when it's like, oh, that video didn't do that well. I'm like, well, whatever. It's not my job. So it's just, I mean, it's just a fun thing I do on the side. Yeah. So I feel like it's just a cool like hobby. And I feel like, yeah, if it works, it doesn't. If it, you know, whatever. Well, like it's all good.
I like that attitude. I mean, like, this is what I think. I mean, obviously, like I met you through the Discord, then I started watching your content. But I think that's what really made me kind of latch on to your stuff, because you're talking about like the emotional response that you get. You're not talking about like the in-depth, like, here's how you do this, here's this stat, whatever percent.
No, I'm never going to talk about that.
You know, you're just talking about the normal stuff that I think will appeal to just a broader, more wide audience of people that will just like, what can I expect out of this game? Well, and then you just say it.
Yeah, I just say it. You know? And it's pretty, I sort of wing it to a certain degree, because I just feel like it's just my like opinion at the time. Yeah. And things can change for sure. And that's the problem, is I feel like, the recency bias thing. So I'll play a game like, that's my favorite game now. And it's like, whoa, just calm down. Like, cause are you going to put that in a top 5-6 months from now? Oh man. Cause like, it's hard. It's so hard. Cause I've played a lot of really good games in the last like 5 years. And it's like they keep bumping up, and I'm like, and then you're like, I don't want to push that down. I'm like, I have so many lists on my phone. In fact, I get so excited when I beat a game, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put that in my top JRPGs list. I'm gonna put my top PS5 list. So I'm like, and I rank everything. I just love that. I get so excited. I'm like, where does this fit now? Oh, I know. And that's my other thing, is I like being honest. Like, if there's a game that people don't like, but I do, I don't care. I'll tell you I like it. Or if I hate it, I'll tell you I don't like it. Like, I did that video of games I dropped. Yeah. And it actually got a lot of views. That's the annoying thing about YouTube. The more negative you are, the more views you get, which is so annoying. But I did that, and I was like, I'm being honest. It's not because these games are bad. It's just I didn't connect with them, and I'm telling you why. Because that's the other thing. I like to tell people, because if you're like me, then maybe I'm saving you some money. True. Where it's like, And like I'll say something like, say I play a game and it's like all farm sims. It's like that might be appealing to someone, and they're like, I'm gonna buy this game now because we know you hate it. So I'll tell them that. I'm like, FemTrooper doesn't like this, but that means I will like it. I'm like, so I'm just honest. I don't care. Like if I say I don't like a game that is, beloved by everybody, it's like I'm okay. Like I'm not huge into Breath of the Wild. That's not my thing at all. I love Zelda, but it's not my thing. And I'm like, I don't mind saying that. It's just, I'd way rather play like the aerial view ones. Like that's just more my thing. So I'm like, and my husband loved it. He beat Breath of the Wild. So I'm like, whatever, like I own it, but it's just not my thing. So but I just don't care. Like some people get so offended, like you don't like that. It's like, whatever. It's not my
God
thing.
forbid somebody have an opinion that's different than yours. Honestly,
there's that.
This is
so
not even just YouTube, but this is just things in general. But the video games on YouTube is playing it very safe for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
that's why I actually really like the list thing, because it's not because I'm personally looking for the top 10 Switch games ever. It's because I like to see what someone else likes. Or it's like, oh, somebody put that as their number 2. Wow, that's cool because, that wasn't even in my list, or that's not even a game I like or whatever. Like I'll put games in my top 10 like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and you're like, that's kind of weird, but I really liked it. So then I'll put that in there, and I'm like, I'm being honest, I liked it. And then someone else might be like, that's not that great. I'm like, fair enough, but I liked it.
Well, that's the thing that you can expect from watching your content. It's just honest, relatable, just normal stuff. I mean, there's no frills.
Pretty positive. Like I try and be like, like I'm not here to like slam stuff, but I also will say like, honestly, I didn't like it. Like I'm just being honest. I beat this game. It wasn't for me. And here's why. Like I didn't like it, or like this game, I'll be honest, be like, this game was painful, or I dropped it. And I'll tell people that, because it's like, I want to be honest. I think that's a big thing, is like so many people can become pretty phony when you're doing this. Definitely. Especially if you get bigger, like it's like, that's not happening. I just be honest and tell people my opinion, and you might like it or not.
Well, I mean, you're the same exact person on camera as what you are right now. There's nothing.
Oh, good.
There's nothing different. It's just.
No. What you're seeing on there is me. I'm not doing anything, different for the camera. That's me.
Yep. I feel you. Well, thank you again, Paige, for taking the time for the interview today. Yeah. I think it's great. I'm going to leave all of your links, I suppose your Twitter and your YouTube in the description below for either podcast or YouTube. So everybody watching or listening, please go check out FemTrooper. Great content, relatable content creator. I think there's a lot of good stuff that you can find over there.
Great. Exciting. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great. It's a real pleasure to actually properly chat to you too.
I don't do podcasts very often, so that's why I was excited to do this.
Thank you again to Paige, aka FemTrooper, for coming on the show today. It was a really great, lighthearted chat. I had so much fun, and I'm sure we'll probably do it again. So if you enjoyed Paige being on the show here today, you can go check out her YouTube channel. I'll leave links down below here on YouTube or on Spotify and Apple. Again, don't forget to comment and like and subscribe if you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again on the next one next week. Thanks for sticking around.